What is up, YouTube? Jonas back with a different kind of video for you today. If you're not, if you don't look at the titles of videos and just click through them, you're already kind of figured out what this one is about. However, I am going to walk you through how I modded the BROTATO demo, which will probably be similar to the full game, and published it out. I'm going to walk you through how we can create items, how we can create custom characters or traits as they're called, and I can show you how to do custom weapons. I'm not going to walk through specifically through it, but the concept of the stuff we're going to be talking about is exactly the same between weapons and items. But before we get into it, if you're not a subscriber of the channel, I do suggest you do go and click that subscribe button, click that bell, click the like on this video. Let me know if you guys are interested in this kind of content, and I can do more of it. I also did reach out to Blobfish as well, and they did give me the okay on walking through some of this stuff here. Now, as a prerequisite for some of the stuff that you're going to need, I'm going to pop some stuff on the screen. You are going to need the ability to unpack or decompile the current game. Of course, you're going to need the current game, which you can get the demo on Steam. You are going to need the GoDot game engine. That's another aspect. And you are going to need some coding experience. Now, by no means do you need to be a programmer to go through this. It does help, but it is not required. And I'll explain part of that as we get into it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to download the BROTATO demo, which you can get. And I'll have links to everything in the description. Don't worry about it. You'll want to download the BROTATO demo. You'll also need to go to GitHub and download the GoDot game engine decompiler. This link will be in the description below, and you guys can check it there. And then lastly, you will need to get the GoDot game engine, which I don't have the link on the screen, but you guys know how to use Google, I'm sure. Once you have everything required, you are good to go. Now, full disclosure, if you are planning on adding in custom items and you want them to look differently than some of the other items, you are going to need a photo editor as well. You need the ability to export to a PNG file. I personally use GIMP for all of my work. I do enjoy it. This is an example of the Retromation hoodie that is going to be in the game. It's not currently there right now, in the modded game, rather. And that's an example. You need a photo editor. You can use Photoshop. You can use Paint, although I don't recommend it because I don't think it can export transparencies or GIMP or whatever. You need to be able to export transparent PNG files. GIMP is free. It's open source. It's probably my favorite. From here, what you need to do is on your BROTATO demo, click on Manage and Browse Local Files. Within the local files, it's going to pop up your Steam directory. What you're looking for is the BROTATO demo.pck, a pack file. Once you have that, you can copy it. You'll want to open up a new, and luckily I've done a lot of this like before we started. You'll want to paste it into a new folder. Now, if you modify this file in any way, shape, or form, in a way that GoDot does not appreciate or BROTATO does not like, the game will crash. So before we get going on any of the stuff here, flash the warning and everything across. I take no responsibility to anything you do within this game. This is completely optional. This is not sanctioned by Blowfish. This is not sanctioned by me. Whatever you do in the game is up to you. If you go in and break your game and it can no longer load, that's on you. If you somehow decide to crash your computer with some of this, that's on you. I take zero responsibility for anything you do on your own computer. Cool. Now that we got that out of the way, what you're going to want to do is once you have the BROTATO demo.pck and you have the gdre_tools.exe from the decompiler on GitHub, you're going to want to open a command prompt. And these are, you basically just go to where you need or where you have your, I'm so used to the Linux terminal. Go to where you have your GDRE tools. In this case, for me, it's BROTATO modding. And again, if I look, I can see everything that's in here. The one that we're going to run here is right here. So if we go GDRE tools, and if you look at the commands to use the decompiler, right here, recover, so -- recover equals, and then you'll want to put in BROTATO pack here, just like that. When you do this, it's going to pop up, and it's going to take a second, but you can see that it's decompiling all the files that we need to modify. And we're going to walk through creating a specific item, by the way. So once that is done, you can see now we have a BROTATO demo folder in the location where we put everything. Now with that completely decompiled, go back to your BROTATO modding folder, and you should have downloaded the GoDot version 3.4.4. That's the most current one, I believe, on the market. And just open it up. Just run the exe. You can ignore some of the other files that I have in here. And this was one that I was already working on before. But what we're going to want to do is click on import and browse. Go to D, go to BROTATO modding, and click on BROTATO demo. And then under here, project.godot. Open and import and edit. Give it a second to load. It's going to import all the assets. Boom. We are now looking at the game engine for BROTATO with all the assets and everything already set up. It's that simple to get this going to a state where you can see what's going on. Now with custom, you can see here right on the left in our Explorer, we have custom items. So if you're looking to do custom items, it's items in all, and these are all the items that are currently in the game. This is the base game. This isn't the modded version that I've built. We have traits, which are the characters. So if I were to click onto the mutant, you can see the mutant as an example. If I were to click onto the acid, you can see the acid item there. And I'll explain some of the other stuff in a second. Within here, there is also some of the weapons, and they're broken down, and we'll go through that. But essentially, this is where everything exists within the game. And this is where we can start doing some cool stuff. So let's start with how the characters work. And I'll explain that first. So there are no actual characters, unique characters in the game. They're referred to as traits. And you can see average, brawler, bull, chunky, crafty, crazy, dumb, etc., etc. However, if you do want to consider these characters, you absolutely can. So if you look at the average within each trait folder, this 100% corresponds to the menu. There's the average character. They may have different names, by the way, just so you're aware. But these match up with the characters in the game. On the side, this is where the two areas where you're going to want to concern yourself with the most. There are effects and item appearances. The item appearances will, let me just make this a little bit bigger there. So the appearance allows you to add items to the base character to make it look like they want. The icon is just the icon that shows in the menu. The appearance is how the characters will appear in the game, and you just have to adjust the array. So if we wanted to adjust how this average character looked, what we could do is come into here, and luckily I was working on a v.me character. All we need to do is create this PNG in the appropriate area for that item. So if we're in GIMP or again Photoshop or whatever, go to items, we go to traits. We're doing it in the average. So we're doing hair. So we'll call this average hair.png and click export. And now when we go back to the game, you can see it automatically updates with the hair right here. Now, if I wanted to keep this character as is, but just add hair to them, I would just right click on one of the other appearance traits, duplicate it, call this hair, duplicate, come into it, drag my hair directly to it, and change the position to hat. This is important. So you can see that it has the position for hat, eyes, mouth, nose, top left, top right, other, or back. We were just going to choose hat as we are creating hair for this character. Once you have that done, you'll need to come back into the data file and change the actual appearance. So as of right now, the hair appearance is just a file. It's not actually referenced anywhere. The game engine does not know that you want to add hair to that character yet. If you come over here and you change the size of the array to 3 and drag in the hair appearance, that character will now have that hair in game. Let's pause there for a second. We've now modded a character. Congratulations. This is how you can create characters that look however you want. You can, I'm not going to go into details specifically on how you should do it or what you should do. This is how you can do it. Thumbs up. Way to go. But we're not done. What I'm going to show you very quickly is some of the effects. So if you click on the effects here, you can see that there's stat of max HP. So this character starts with max HP of 5, harvesting of 5, and speed of 5. These are all integer values, and they can be negative or positive. This is where you can customize your character to how you want to play. I'm not going to list out all the specific stats that we can have, but for the sake of this, let's say we wanted to change the harvesting from 5 to 30. This character is going to start with 30 harvesting. From here, we are able to now go to scene and click save all scenes. We now have a saved version of the game. To make this playable, what we're going to want to do is go to project and export, add Windows Desktop, and click on export PCK/zip. If you don't have this option available in your GoDot, there will be an option for you to download and install. But this is what we're looking for here. Export PCK. It brings us to our BROTATO modding BROTATO demo. In this path here, you're going to want to go to your program files, Steam, and what is it? Steam apps, common, and then find the BROTATO. Now, from within here, you're going to want to rename the existing BROTATO demo to _old, or however you want to call it, just basically so that the game doesn't know to use your new PCK file, pack file. You're going to want to call the file BROTATO demo.pck, mindful of that it is camel case, or not, it's not camel case. I don't know what the cases are. It's got a capital B and a capital D. From there, click save, and it's going to export your PCK. If you go into that same folder or through Steam and load BROTATO demo.exe, just going to turn the volume down a bit. Once you're in the game, we can click on the well-rounded average character, and we'll just start a run. And now we have some cool v.me hair. Congratulations, you created your first ever character. And I'm going to show you here in a second that our harvesting is 30. So you have effectively created a custom character in BROTATO. Let your mind go wild. I'm going to close that out and show you the next step. So the way that one works is it takes over one of the other characters. I'm not interested in adding more and more characters to it. I think 15 slots is enough, and they're not really characters anyway, they're just traits. Now let's talk items. Items and weapons work essentially the same way. They have a different way of working, but you're going to see how they kind of work. So within the folder tree here, there's items, and all is the folder we're going to be working in. These are all the items currently in the game. So if we looked at mastery and then I inadvertently dragged something there, I don't know what I did. Does not really matter. I don't think I can undo anything, but if we look at mastery, there's the icon for it. There's an appearance for it, so how it shows in your character in the game, and then 2 effect files for it here. What we're going to want to do is just duplicate this item, and we're going to call it something else. We're going to call it power. Duplicate. Just because it's fun. So within here, we have our power item. If you open it into your file explorer, you'll see it here. And what you want to do now is go in and create some icons for your power item. I've already gone and done that, so I am going to just bring them over into our working directory here. You can see power.png and power icon. Come back to the game, and you can see them here. I just very quickly grabbed what we're looking for. We'll take the, we're going to rename some of these. So we're going to rename mastery appearance to power appearance. We're going to rename mastery data to power data. And we're also going to rename the 2 effect files here. Rename and rename. This is, as far as I know, this is actually not really required, but it is highly recommended. We also don't need this or this. So now we have everything we need. So if we go to the, let's start with the data. So if we want to import our icon, we will put in how we want it to show. So this is when you're in the shop. This is what will show what you're looking for within it. You can also change your tier to common, uncommon, rare, legendary. For this one, we're going to do common. And your values and effects from here. So I don't want this one to be a value of 55. I'd prefer this to be closer to 20 because it is a common item. This is how much it basically costs in the game. If we look at the power effects, this is very similar to the traits that we set up. And it shows melee damage on this one and range damage on this one. So if we wanted to set up a very powerful item, we can come in and change stat damage and change it to 200. This item will give 200% damage. And if we come in here and we go stat attack speed, and we change this to a 100, this character will now have 200% damage and 100% attack speed. I'm not interested in whether or not something is overpowered in this. This is just purely an example of what I'm showing you. So from there, under the power data file, you're going to want to drag over your new effects so that it shows power effect 1 and power effect 2. Thumbs up. In the appearance file, you can see it's still currently got the old, what was it, mastery icon. That's what shows in game. However, we want to show our power icon right here. We don't want this on the eyes. We're probably going to go with the hat as well because picture it like above the character. And display priority 0, very low. We're not quite done yet. If you're not, at this point, if you're not familiar with how a game engine works, I'm not going to get too much into it. Know that GoDot, Unity, and Unreal work in a very similar way where you have scenes within it, and that scene manager handles a lot of the stuff that basically comes in the game. Not going to get into that. So with our item now made, it's not in the game quite yet. What we're going to want to do is click on Open Scene, go up to our base folder, go to Singletons, and open Item Service as a scene. Click on Item Service, and you'll see here in our Explorer, our file manager, that it has items right here. And it's currently a 65 item array. We're going to want it to go to the end of this array and change it to 66. Within here, we're going to want to drag over our data file and import it there. From here, we can save all scenes. And then we can export our PCK. Go back to our BROTATO demo, overwrite our BROTATO demo PCK. And now if we were to go back to our demo and play the game, we now have the power item in there. Now, it doesn't unlock by default. You can see we don't start with it, but it will now show up in the shop. Let's see if we can get that going here on our very first shop. I can't guarantee it. It's still a random chance at that point. We have not modified the chances of anything showing up. Cool. Sure. Why am I doing that? However, we can try to get it to reroll. We did not get very lucky. That's okay. We're going to go back to our main menu here, and we're going to close out the game. That, I guarantee you that it will show in the game. So that's how you make an item. Thumbs up. The last one are the weapons. And again, on the bottom of my screen, bottom left, you can see all the different weapons that do exist, and they're broken out by basically the type of weapon they are, melee or ranged or what have you. So if I were to look at the double barrel shotgun, you can see that it's got 3 levels of upgrades you can go through, and you can go to the data and go in and change it here if you want as well. So if you wanted a stronger shotgun, you can go in and do so. The value is the cost, and then the effects are currently 0, but you can see the stats file here that it pulls everything from right here. So you can see the stats file. So if I were to want to go in and change the cooldown on the shotgun, I can come in and here and just change the cooldown value. Or if I wanted to increase the damage or the accuracy, etc., you can go in and do so. If you wanted to go in and create a new weapon, this is where you would do it. In the stats file, this is all the core values of the weapon. If I click on stats here, you can see the same thing. Cooldown for the cactus mace and so forth. This is a more complicated version of the modding. However, once you have that, you go back. So once you have your weapon created, there is the weapons array here. You would just need to do very similar. Go in and allow the array to go in and increase it. So let's say you wanted to create a custom item or weapon in the game. I'm going to walk you through how this works. So I'm going to use the fist as my base weapon here, as I kind of want a behavior that already exists in the game. I just want to use something similar to the fist. You can see in here, there's some icons that exist already. And there's also this animation. I'm not too concerned about having different upgrades for my item. Very similar to, say, how the minigun works. There's only one specific version of it. That's kind of what I'm kind of interested in. So within the first set here, I'm going to duplicate the data, and I'm going to call this Lance data. And I'm also going to duplicate the stats date, or the stats file. With those created, now I go down to my Lance folder, and I've already gone and created an icon and a in-game item for it. I'm going to drag those two over to the Lance. Now, I could worry about sounds and so forth within it, but for the sake of this, I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm going to come over to the data file that I just created, and I'm going to put my Lance right there. I also want to rename it. We'll call this Weapon Lance. We're going to make it a common item, value of 15, and we're going to want to change the weapon class to blade. I want the behavior of the fist, but I want it to be part of the blade item. We're also going to have to import our scene here. So as I mentioned, there are scenes that exist within the game. We are going to want to bring that in. I think I brought it to the wrong folder. There we go. Come over to this, change the sprite. This will be our in-game sprite, like so. And now if we look at the sprite here, you can see that our Lance is currently there. The hitbox it should be okay, but we could look at changing it. Truth be told, I'm not the best GoDot programmer. I'm not super familiar with everything that kind of exists with it. However, we come over here, and now we can drag our scene right here. We will drag our stats right here, and I'm going to come in and delete the upgrade info. Like so. I forgot how to do it. So it's just a standard weapon. It's a common weapon. There are no upgrades available for this. It's just a Lance that we go through. Let's look at the stats, and we are going to change the damage. I want this to be a powerful weapon with no upgrades. So we're going to change it to 50. The 50 is the base damage. However, the cooldown should be something like 35. I want this to be a slow, powerful weapon. The scaling stat is melee. That is fine. It's a melee weapon. And the other stuff in there should be relatively okay. Accuracy can be at 100%. Crit damage, we'll change this to say 60 as double. That's fine. And the range, having it roughly at the same range as the fist is probably fine. I'm going to leave the rest as it's not super important. So with everything that we have now set up, we are in a good spot. Going back to that scene, the item service scene, we're going to want to drag in, let's go to the last page here, our data file for our Lance. Now we have the Lance in the game. Thumbs up. So with your weapon made and brought into the appropriate scene, from there you may want to start your character with that weapon. The way that you do that is right here through your starting a weapons array. You can set this to 1 and then come down to your weapons. We're going to go to melee, Lance, and drag over Lance data. If you look at some of the other characters, you'll see the same. So like the brawler starts with a fist and a hand and can choose between them. In this case here, the character is going to start with them. And you can see here, you can allow all starting weapons if you do want. And that should be fine. There is a note on the weapons. If you do go in and create a new weapon like the Lance, one of the options on there is can be starting weapon and unlocked by default as a starting weapon. Both of these need to be on if you do want your character to start with them. So with that started, we're going to export our PCK again, and we're going to overwrite the one we were working on. This is just the way that I work. And with that, we will come into our demo and we will load it. We will click start. And you can see our weapon Lance right here. The name is a little funny, but don't worry about the name. I can show you that in a second. We click it, and now we have a custom Lance in the game that works similar to the fist, but it just does a ton of damage. This is super fun. And it will also show in the shops and everything. I'm going to, and you can see all the stats here that we put in, the damage of 50, the cooldown of 0.5 seconds, etc., etc. Basically, you've now created a custom item in the game. Great job. And it will show in here as well, right here, weapon lance. I did not create or code the upgrade for it, but it will work as you go through the game. If you want this to show a little bit different, all you need to do is just put in the name of Lance and it should be fine. So from there, we have now effectively made a custom character. We changed the appearance of the character and changed stats to how we want them. We have now created a custom item, the power-up item, which we didn't see. Maybe we can try. And we created a custom weapon in the game. All of which are very cool. And that is the basic level of modding that I am going to show you. I'm going to go back to the main menu here and I'm going to call it there. That is how you can mod BROTATO, the items, the weapons, and the characters. I'm not going to go further into some of the other aspects on there. I'm not going to go in through the data mining or some of the stuff that is available in the demo. If you're interested, you can check it out. Look at the links for everything that you'll need as a high level over again. You do need the game. You do need the decompiler. You need the GoDot engine so that you can recompile it. And you need a photo editor if you wish to create custom items or how appearances or how different things you want them to look within there. But that is going to do it. That is how I created the mod pack. If you saw Retromation or Alexa, check out the content. This is how I did it. I'm looking forward to BROTATO's full release. I'm looking forward to hopefully working with Blobfish as well in terms of the modding aspect of how things are done. This is a very basic video and to show you some of the basics of how you can go in, create your own items, weapons, and characters within the game. I'm very much looking forward to the game. If you do want to play BROTATO, go and wishlist the game as well. That's going to be the very first link there to the Steam page. Thank you, Blobfish, for giving me the thumbs up to go ahead and make this video. I very much appreciate it. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to click the like and subscribe. It means the world to me. You can also be found on Twitch, twitch.tv/JonusLive. Or if you just want to find out more about me, just go to jonus.tv for all the links to all the things. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love you lots. Peace out.